Today, we're at the Nigerian Telecoms Forum 2025 in Lagos. This pivotal event brings together over 200 industry leaders, including representatives from KPMG West Africa, Backbone Connectivity Network, Rack Center, Nine Mobile Nigeria, MTN Nigeria, Airtel Business Africa, amongst others. They'll be discussing critical topics such as digital services, cybersecurity, emerging technologies, and so much more, all aimed at shaping the future of Nigeria's telecom industry. I'm Olanraju Adeni, reporting for Tech Pressure.
Conventional way, you knock a couple of those, the shoes get chopped, fly everywhere. Eventually, someone says, "I'll try." So if you keep trying, you ultimately find people who will listen to you. And if what you're saying makes sense, sometimes they might just look at you and say, "I like you," or "I know somebody who likes you," or something, and then they'll give you a chance.
The president of the Association of Telecommunications Companies of Nigeria, Tony Izuagbe Emoekpere, underlined in his keynote that the telecom industry should guide Nigeria's digital destiny.
Addressing Nigeria's digital future, industry leadership in infrastructure, investments, and innovation. So firstly, I want to thank the organizers of this forum and welcome all of you here, ladies, gentlemen, titans, CEOs, executives. Really a privilege for me personally and representing our association to be here, especially with this theme towards a connected future, investing in Nigeria's digital infrastructure. This conversation I think we're going to have here, I've seen the list of speakers and panelists, and I think it's a very exhaustive one. It's not just about technology. It's also about economic transformation, national competitiveness, and digital inclusion. So it is how we, as an industry, can take ownership of Nigeria's digital future. And I hope that that's what should be at the back of all our minds as we discuss here. How we as an industry take ownership.
He underlined the fragmentation of the sector and demanded more cooperation to increase national competitiveness and technical advancement.
Well, the importance of collaboration is mainly about scale because being a small and fragmented organization doesn't allow you to scale. So, and the amount of investment that you require actually to provide these services is enormous. So no one person can provide all services. So collaboration is key. And the sector already is designed in a value chain system. So there's no point you invest in the whole value chain when you can collaborate with people already down the value chain you have. So that's really...
In the first panel session, Oluwakemi Young Esume, the CEO at Internet Solutions Nigeria, highlighted that not every entity can function as a mobile network operator or rely solely on an imported system, drawing parallels with the fintech and agricultural sectors.
We all cannot be MNOs, we all cannot be ISPs, right? Most of the equipment that we use are imported. And we all see what is happening in the fintech space and the agriculture space. If you want to go into agriculture right now, when you are getting fertilizers imported, you don't pay import duties, there are a lot of tax incentives, reliefs and all of that. So I think what can be done in that aspect is equipment like radios, to encourage local investors in that aspect. We need to encourage people to invest in bringing in this equipment.
She also proffered possible practical solutions to providing affordable internet.
What the government can do to ensure we are able to deliver more affordable services to these people is give us a bit of tax relief, right? Take out some import duties on equipment that we use. Also, in terms of the commission and the regulatory body, we can have less bureaucracy, time when you want to get certain approvals or licensing. So that will go a long way in ensuring we can provide affordable service to everyone that deserves internet connectivity.
Tunji Alabi, Managing Director of Infratel Africa, talked about how Nigeria is boosting telecom security amid rising attacks like the vandalism of hundreds of base stations in northeast Nigeria over the years, leading to massive financial losses.
The insurgents in the northeast cost about 180 million. That's over 200 base stations were vandalized in 2021. It says that In 2022, over $50 million was wiped off in the Northeast. And this is on the bottom line of most of these MNOs and fiber codes. Just imagine bringing an investment to build those base stations and the fiber, and you're making the assumption in that model that the payback is 8 years, and in 1 year, 120 million goes off that.
Over the last 2 years, one of the things the government has done is that it's listed all the technology infrastructure as part of the critical national infrastructure, which means that there's a concerted effort by all the security forces to protect all telecoms infrastructure now, which was never like that in the past. In the past, we left it to individuals to protect this infrastructure. Now the government has contracted the police, the army, and everybody else to actually protect this infrastructure. The other things we're doing is we're actually getting the communities involved in the protection of this infrastructure as well. So we are having we're employing things like CCTV, drone technology to actually begin to look at these things from a central perspective to see, so that we have forewarning of any impending attacks.
The regional director for West Africa at Avanti Communications, Ruben Oshoma, emphasized the need for government investment, stable policies, and collaboration in fiber cable deployment.
But we need to be able to come together and realize that what needs to be done, because that will now lower the cost for every operator or service provider. So, I mean, it's meant to be simple. I'm not sure why it's so difficult. Everybody digging can come together and say, you know what, how can we collaborate and work together, contribute towards the laying of this fiber, so we don't have to pay too much for that. Because at the end of the day, the revenue you're making is limited. So if you keep expanding and if you keep spending money on the cost, then you're going to reduce your profitability on the long run, and you might not be able to sustain the business with that going long term.
Suburban CEO Bruce Ironnote spoke about the difference in the penetration of mobile broadband and fiber broadband in Nigeria.
So there's what you call mobile broadband, MBB. And then there's what you call fiber broadband. Some people call it real broadband. So the mobile broadband is like what we have on our phones. And the penetration for that is quite large. That's where they refer to all of them in totality. That's when you get that 50% number. But when you talk about real broadband, which is fiber to the home, actual large capacity to the home, there's less than 1% penetration in Nigeria.
Attendees share their thoughts on how Nigeria's telecom sector struggles with stakeholder synergy and the need for regulators and financial bodies to be attentive to the situation at hand.
Panel sessions have clearly enunciated everything that is going on in the Nigerian telecom sector. I did want to make a contribution though. There seems to be, what I hear from everyone is there is a lack of synergy. The government is the main problem and the driver of an efficient Nigerian telecoms sector.
I've sat through some of the panel discussions. I must say this, that the organizers have done a good job of gathering intellectuals in our space, gathering experts. And forgive me for saying this, we've had a talk shop within ourselves, right? Most of the issues we're addressing here that pertain to our sector, we need the regulator present. We need both the regulator in our space, in other words, NCC, to be present. We also need the regulator on the finance side, which is the CBN, to be present. But I think that it's important that we bring the regulators together, and then with the private sector, we can discuss. Thank you.
Alhaji Diko, CEO of Backbone Connectivity Network, emphasizes the necessity for constructive dialogue with federal, state, and local governments to foster synergy and ensure effective policy implementation across all levels of governance.
More constructive conversation with the government at all levels, federal, subnationals, and local government to ensure that not just only existing policies are implemented, but also there's a better understanding of what each one of us can do to support each other in our various initiatives to ensure we both achieve desired outcomes. Nigeria wants to move and to be Africa's top digital economy. And to do that, we must work together towards that desired outcome. So we need to have, I think, a synergy and intentionality.
The head of private equity capital market and mergers acquisition, Noble Abasi, talked about how the event tried to pinpoint telecom sector issues with stakeholders and advocate for regulatory collaboration to address these challenges.
First of all, to identify what the problem the sector is facing, right? Because you cannot provide solutions if you don't, first of all, identify the problems. And who are those people that would, first of all, show that there's a problem somewhere? If not, the stakeholders. When I talk about the stakeholders, I mean the local players, the telecommunication companies, the regulators, right? So they will come here with all sorts of challenges that the sector is facing with the aim to provide adequate and efficient solution, to those problems. So essentially, I came here, with an open mind to, first of all, understand the problems that they are facing firsthand, considering the fact that these guys play within the space, and also, listen to their solution, and also come up with my own, side of solution, which is the regulatory part, which is the fact that I feel that there's a need for collaboration between all stakeholders in that part.
One, how do we drive inclusion? Inclusion actually requires majority, if not everybody, within a particular country, so to say, having access to digital resources. That's actually been driven by broadband, okay? So the first thing is, let's drive broadband penetration.
As the Nigerian Telecoms Forum 2025 concludes, it's evident that the collaborative efforts and insights shared here today will play a significant role in navigating the challenges and opportunities within Nigeria's telecom sector. We look forward to seeing how these discussions will influence the industry's trajectory in the coming years. This is Olarinwaju Adeniyi, signing off for Tech Pressure.